guys, welcome back to my channel. So I cannot believe this is the last week of December. It's crazy, and I hope you're seeing this during the last week of December. It just depends on how busy my week is going right now. But this video, as you saw by the title below, is going to be my favorite brushes of 2016, and I have been talking about doing this video since the beginning of 2016 when I was doing my drugstore series, but I just decided to just bring them all together and do a combination of just high-end and low-end brushes. And you probably won't see, if any, high-end brushes in this particular video because I honestly do not use a lot of high-end makeup brushes. I just don't even think about buying them because there's so many drugstore brushes that are on the market now that are so good. So if you are interested in learning what my favorite brushes of 2016 are, then please keep watching. So starting off with face brushes, this brush is one that I have multiple of because I cannot get enough of this brush. It's so amazing, and it's only $3, and this is the e.l.f. Kabuki powder brush. And yes, my brushes will be a bit dirty because I want to use the new cleaning mechanism thing, so I want to use that, and I may film it, so excuse my brushes being dirty, don't judge me. But this is the flat powder brush. This is an amazing brush for foundation. I think it works with full coverage foundations, with lighter coverage foundations, runny, thick. It just works so great with all different types of foundations, and it works great as a powder brush, what it's supposed to be anyways, but it just feels really good on the face, and it just blends out your foundation to perfection. And again, it's only $3, and I have like 4 of them. Like, you cannot get enough of this brush, and I just went ahead and bought so many just in case they decided to sell out or discontinue them. I don't know, I just wanted to go ahead and buy a lot of them because it's an amazing brush, and I definitely think this is one you need to have for foundation. This next brush is also an e.l.f. brush, and I use this one specifically for my fuller coverage foundations. So when I have a fuller coverage foundation, what I don't want is all of the foundation to pile onto my face and just stick cake on. So in my mind, I think with a fuller coverage foundation, I like to use a more thin brush, a more less dense brush, because that way it won't take, I won't take all of the foundation on my face, if that makes sense. So I do also just pump out a little less of the fuller coverage foundation because I don't want a whole lot, because if it's fuller coverage, I don't need a whole lot of it on my face. So this one I specifically use for fuller coverage foundations, and this is the e.l.f. Complexion brush, I believe it's called. It does not have a name, but it was one of the new brushes that they recently came out with, and it is a two-toned kind of just rounded kabuki brush, and I love it because it just kind of sits right on top of the face and just applies everything, instead of the flat kabuki where you get a nice flat finish and it really pushes in. So this just kind of puts everything on top, so that's why I kind of like it for a fuller coverage foundation instead of a more liquidy foundation. I think that this just can't really control it because it just goes all over the place. But it's also really good as a powder brush as well. You can get kind of underneath the eyes and just pat in any powder that you would like to use with this brush. But I love it for foundation. Again, this brush I believe is also $3, and it's a part of the new line, and it's an amazing brush. So the last foundation brush that I want to talk about is the Morphe MB31 brush. So this one is another good one that's good for thin foundations, like lighter foundations, and thicker foundations. So this one's just versatile. To me it is, and I love it because it has like an angle, so it's really good at getting in that inner corner up by your nose and up by your inner tear duct area. It's really good for that, and it's just really thick, so the foundation is not going to seep into it, because some brushes that are kind of thin, they end up, it's really hard to get them clean because the foundation gets inside the brush, and it's really hard to get it down in there and just really get it back to how it was when you first bought it. But this one is, so since it's so dense, the foundation does not get inside of it so much. So I love this one for all kinds of foundations. It just kind of also stays on the face. It doesn't really the bristles don't really move while you're applying it, so you're not going to get the foundation is not going to be all over your face. I really do love this brush. The Morphe brushes are very inexpensive, and I like to catch these brushes even when they're on the sale, so you get them for an even cheaper price than what they are originally. But I believe I paid about $9.80 for this brush. It was either $9.50 or $9.80. It was at least under $10. So moving on now to concealer brushes, and again I have an amazing e.l.f. brush here that I love for concealer. This is the e.l.f. Flawless Concealer Brush, and it is kind of like a big blending brush, but it's not as flexible. The bristles are kind of stiff because you don't want something that's going to be all over the place, and you don't want something that's going to loosen up the skin underneath your eye area. So it's kind of a stiff bristle brush, and you can also kind of pat it in, but you can also drag it and kind of blend it in down in that triangle form near your nose and just up at the corner of your eye here. So I really do love this for thicker concealers because sometimes those are harder to blend and it takes a little bit longer time. So you just want to kind of get it out of the way. And when you have something like a bigger blending brush, this kind of spreads it out evenly and just quicker. So love this. Again, this is probably $3. It's amazing. Pick one of these up if you're looking for a nice blending concealer brush. So I have a BH Cosmetics concealer brush as well that I love to use, and I like having at least one pointed concealer brush because I feel like this is exactly what they're meant for, the pointed concealer. It's meant to really get in that inner corner area. So this is the BH Cosmetics 115 brush, and it is a little bit dirty, so again, excuse that, but it really does get into that inner corner area. At the same time, you can press it and blend it into the skin area. So you don't have to worry about using this to drag out per se. So I like this if I really want to just go right up underneath the under eye area. So sometimes I won't use the triangle form when applying my concealer. I just put it right underneath here where the darkest part of the under eye is at. And I like to use this brush to just really get up under there while looking up and just perfect it and get into those creases so it won't settle. And I love using a pointed concealer brush for that. So when I'm not using a beauty sponge to set underneath my eyes, I use two brushes. I like to use this e.l.f. brush. This is the small tapered brush by e.l.f. and it is exactly like it says. It's a smaller version of the big tapered brush. And I don't even know if they sell the bigger one anymore, but I know by accident I had got the bigger one, and it's a really big brush, and I was like, I don't think this is the one that everyone is using right now to set their concealer. So this is the smaller version, and it's just very tall at the top. It's kind of pointed up near the top portion, and I just like to use it to just dip into the powder and just set underneath my eyes. It does a really great job. It picks up a lot of product and places it right onto your eyes. So that's what I really like about that. The other brush that I like to use, and I bought two of these, one for highlight and one for this purpose of setting. This is the Real Techniques setting brush, and this brush is amazing. I find it to be so great for both of those purposes, whether you want to use it for highlight or whether you want to use it for setting. And I just love how it gets right up underneath the eye area and just sets your concealer, and it works amazingly. And Real Techniques is very affordable. It is probably at least under $10 for this brush. It does not come in a set. You can buy this on its own, and Ulta is usually always doing a buy one get one 50% off. So if you need another Real Techniques brush or you want to try another one out, then you can easily get this one and another one that's buy one get one 50 off. So love this brush for setting underneath the eyes, and I love it for highlight as well, which you'll see in a minute. So for contour purposes, I have another e.l.f. brush, and again, guys, I could do my entire face on e.l.f. brushes. If you watch my e.l.f. one brand makeup tutorial, I use all e.l.f. brushes in that video because it's so easy to just, they have everything. They have brushes, concealers, everything. So I love e.l.f. This is the e.l.f. blush brush, and I'm pretty sure they have another blush brush as well, but this is the one that's kind of tapered. So it looks like that tapered brush that I just showed you guys, but it's wider. So this one's wider and it's a lot more flexible than the tapered brush. This works amazing for just getting right in that kind of cheekbone area here and just blending, and it's flexible enough to where it will just blend blended out flawlessly without you having to go back in with another brush and follow up. So I love using this for there and just bringing it all around the forehead area as well and around the chin area as well. So it just works out really great, and I love this for powder contours. So it works amazing for that. For cream contour, which I don't use a whole lot, I will use it every now and then. And since I got that new NYX palette that I love, I have been using this brush a little bit more. And this is the Sonia Kashuk number 30 brush. And it is a flat brush. So it obviously kind of looks like the NARS Ita brush. I believe e.l.f. has a brush like this. I believe Real Techniques may have a brush like this as well. So it's just a nice flat, thin brush, and it works really great for getting right here in that cheek area and just blending out any type of product that you have there. So it does work good as well with powders, but for my powders, I like them more blended, and the bristles are very stiff, so I feel like it works better to me for cream, because that way it will blend out the cream a lot better than it will with a powder, because you would have to probably follow it up with something to make sure that the powder is blended out and it doesn't look harsh. But this brush is amazing. It is a little bit more pricey because Sonia Kashuk is kind of, to me, like, I guess, pricey drugstore products, you could call them. So her brushes are, I believe, around $10 to $20. So the black and gold brushes, I believe, are probably about $15, $16. But I love the way this brush felt in the hand. It has a nice kind of concave shape here where it sits very nicely in your hand. So if you're doing cream blending your contour here, it fits very nicely in the grooves of your hand. So you can just know that it'll give you a nice blended contour. So love this brush. It's not one that I pick up very often, but it is one of my favorite brushes for cream contour, which I've been into recently. So for highlighting, this is an exact duplicate of the brush. I just bought another one specifically for highlighting. It's the Real Techniques setting brush. So this again works really great at getting right up there on the cheekbones. And it just has that blending mechanism as well, where the bristles just aren't so stiff, where it will blend out anything, as well as applying it in a nice even manner. So it took me a while to find a brush that applied highlight very nicely on my skin, because some of the other brushes that I tried would leave the highlight very broken up and splotchy, and I know sometimes that had to deal with a cheaper version of a highlight, but it also has to do with the brush. So if you're noticing like a splotchy application of your highlight, try changing up brushes, especially if it's a higher end highlight product that's not supposed to do that. Then definitely try switching up brushes, and this is one that I recommend at the drugstore for a very inexpensive price. Okay, moving on to eye brushes. So the first thing that I do with my eyes is I will apply like a transition shade or something that's going to be blown out in the upper part of the crease area. And the brush that I really love doing that specifically with is this BH Cosmetics brush, and this is the 101 brush. Now this brush, before I had this brush, I was using another brush that I'm going to show you next, but this is amazing because it's long. You have a lot of control over it, and so you could be really close to the edge. So if you're really close to the edge, you're going to get more of a harsher application if you want that. And then from far away, if you put your fingers all the way at the end of the brush, you're going to get a more lighter application. So I love that. So I love being kind of in between and just applying this in buffing circular motions. Love this brush. It's a very fluffy brush. I really wanted one of these in my collection, and I got one for an inexpensive price. I believe this came in a set that was like $9.99. So definitely try out the BH Cosmetics brushes because they're very inexpensive and they work really well. So the next blending brush that I want to talk about that I was using for like blown out transition eyes was the Sonia Kashuk number 109 brush. And this was my favorite brush for a long time. And I still use it a lot because it works really well. This is another version of the BH Cosmetics brush, but the only difference is that obviously the height difference. So it's going to give you less control over it. So you're going to have to either hold it like way out here to get the same effect. But I immediately could tell when I bought the BH Cosmetics brush, the difference in the effect that it gave me. But this is still a great brush nonetheless. It's just that it's not as fluffy as this brush, and it's a little bit more pointed. So you probably want to use this for something directly in the crease and not like as a blown out transition color, but this will work great until you can get something else. I love, love, love this brush, and I still use it at least weekly, if not every other day. It's just an amazing brush. So the next blending brush that I want to talk about, and guys, you can never have too many blending brushes. They're amazing, and you're gonna find that when you want to start blending your eyeshadows and going for certain looks, that you're gonna notice that certain brushes just aren't gonna work for you, and you're gonna need a great range of blending brushes. So this one is the Lab brush, and you can get these at Walmart. I got this one for $10, and this is a very more pointed blending brush. So as you can see, it's not as wide as your BH Cosmetics brush. It's very, very kind of pointed, and I love that about this brush because you can get directly in that crease area where you want to go. You can apply a color and then go back in and blend it out with this. So I love, love, love this brush for that. Again, the height on these blending brushes give you so much more control, whether you want a very light blending or you want something that's very harsh. And when I say harsh, I don't mean something that's not blended where it's just very chalky looking. I mean something that is not as light. So you still want the color to kind of come up. You want it a little bit more opaque, more pigmented on your lid there. So love, love, love this brush, and this is $10 at Walmart. So moving on to shadow applicator brushes, like something I would apply directly on the lid. So if I'm applying like a shimmery color and I really wanted to pick up a lot of the shimmer and really just put it onto my lid and not be like in, I guess, a perfect location on the lid, this is the e.l.f. blending brush, but I like to use this as a shadow brush. So I like to put it directly on the lid, and it just works great for that. It is a little tapered, so it just kind of fans out but then kind of points up at the top. So I love this brush, and it works really well for applying glitter shades or shimmer shades to the lid. So the next brush that I have is also another e.l.f. brush, and this is the eyeshadow C brush, and this one is a very thick, small brush. So it's these brushes you're very used to seeing someone applying like either eyebrow highlight or packing on shadow, and that's exactly what I use this brush for, because it is amazing for that, because it's thick, it's very dense, so it's going to pick up a lot of product, but it's going to place it on your lid. So if you want to use this to pack on matte colors, shimmer colors, it works really well. But I love this one for matte colors because it just packs on the matte color that I want, because sometimes matte colors on darker skin tones can kind of wash away sometimes, so especially like the more taupey, lighter brown shades. So I love using these thick, dense brushes that will help apply it a lot thicker and get a lot more pigmentation across on that lid. So I have a couple more brushes I want to talk about, and these are pencil brushes, and I like pencil brushes to get directly into the crease area. So if I'm applying like a color that I really want to define that crease area, then I will use one of these, and this is the BH Cosmetics 105 brush. So it's a very small pencil brush. It will get directly in that crease area. You can also use these brushes to go on the lower lash line and smoke out color as well. So they have two purposes that you can use them for. I usually use mine for blending out or putting colors in the crease. So I love this brush for that purpose. And the other brush that's a little bit more fluffy, but it kind of does the same thing, but if you want a little bit of a thicker application in the crease, then I would reach for this brush. This is the e.l.f. Professional Blending Eye Brush, and I had this brush. This was one of my first brushes, and I still love it. So this works really well for getting colors in the crease area, and it also helps blend them out as well. So again, if you need a crease brush and you can't find some of the other ones by e.l.f., then pick up one of these. I believe they sell these at the dollar store or even at Dollar General. So you can probably pick up one of these for $1. So it's just amazing that e.l.f. reaches so many people and it's very inexpensive. So love this brush as well. The last two brushes that I want to talk about are brow brushes. I did not forget about brows, and one of the brow brushes that I have, it's been through it, but it still works really well. This is the Ardell brow brush, and it has a spoolie on one end and then an angled applicator brush on the other end. So this works really well for powder applications Or if you just want to tighten up the brow area, I use this for dipping in concealer as well. Just make sure I just wash it off if I'm going to use it for either or. And then the spoolie is just a spoolie. I love having a spoolie. I travel with it. It's an amazing thing. You got to have a spoolie because you got to get those brow hairs sticking up before you apply your brow products. So love this brush. This I got at a local beauty supply store and it was very inexpensive. The other brush that I have for applying brow product, this is the Real Techniques angled brush. And I love this brush as well because again, to me, I use it for dual purposes. So I love using it to just help shape my brows around there. It's angled, it's very thin and narrow, so it works really well. Or applying brow product with it as well. You can use this for pomades or powders. It's gonna work either or. So love this brush as well. Real Techniques again is at Ulta, Target. I have started seeing it at Walmart. So you can pick this up at pretty much any of those stores. Okay guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed this brushes of 2016 video. Again, probably 80% to 90% of the brushes were e.l.f. and I'm not ashamed of that because I feel like they work really well and they are there for everyone to get. They're very inexpensive and you don't need to go spend $60 on a Marc Jacobs brush if you don't want to. But if you have that money, then hey, you go right ahead. But I choose to use my e.l.f. brushes for now, and I don't know, who knows, that may change in the future, but I love my e.l.f. brushes and I hope you guys got something out of this video. I hope you try out some of these brushes. Maybe you discovered some new brushes, and if you have any favorites, then definitely let me know down in the comment section below because I would love to know and try out some new brushes if you have any. If you did like this video, give it a thumbs up, and thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.